Hey, my name is Ray Labrador. You're here for the exposition, right? Yeah? You here for the exposition? You're the right guy? Cool. All right. Well, I want to talk today about exposition. That's what you're here to do, right?
No.
Well, anyways. Exposition is unfortunately something that not a lot of people want to hear. Like you don't want to hear exposition.
Trying to eat.
Yeah, well, it's something you have to do anyways in a story, right? In order for us to understand the world building and understand what's happening in the story, right?
How'd you get in my house?
It's the second part of the plot line. You know, we started with the hook, and now we're moving on to the exposition. So, in terms of the hero's journey, this is where we introduce what the overall setting is, what the person is, what our main characters like in their world, how they're acting, and what steps they are likely to change. That's likely not a new concept for you. I'm assuming you've seen some movies and films before in your life, right?
Who are you?
So I'm not going to explain what exposition is. It's pretty self-explanatory what exposition is. I think it's more vital to talk about what kind of ways you can do exposition and what kind of forms you can go about expositing to your audience in whatever sort of means. I mean, obviously the thing is that people don't want to listen to exposition, right? Like nobody kind of wants to sit down and listen to people yapping about their problems, right?
Help me.
So we as writers try to find a way to circumvent the boredom that is the exposition, because although we need to do it, nobody likes hearing it, right? So we've been trying to find ways to make it more interesting for other people to watch and listen to it. The most common rule you'll hear is show don't tell, and a lot of people will ride and die by that. So the concept of show don't tell is to let's say I need to tell you that exposition is not fun. Well, the best way to do that would be, instead of for me just saying exposition is not fun, for me to show you that exposition is not fun. Which I can't imagine you're having too much fun right now, are you?
I mean, I'm eating.
Right. So, but I feel like a lot of writers will ride and die by show don't tell, when really sometimes you do need to tell. Sometimes in a story you need to get through some certain points. You just need to jump through the hoops, right, to get to the most important things. I think more so what they mean by show don't tell is in terms of people's emotions and people's standings in the world. Because I think it means more when you show someone not having a good time instead of just saying, "Hey, you're not having a good time right now." And I think that's mainly what they mean by show don't tell. I think it's a good rule to follow. I think it's when you're sitting down and you're writing, it's good to think about how can I show this instead of just telling them about it. But it's not always a necessary thing. If you just need to tell it just to get it done with, just tell it to get it done with. Now, when you're in the actual scene and you're telling people, it's boring, right? We've been over this plenty of times. It's boring. I remember watching hey, where are you going? You're fine. I remember watching a YouTube video while I was a kid where somebody, I think it was Digibro or something was the person, but one of their main rules was don't do a exposition scene at a cafe or at a table or anything like that. It's incredibly boring. You're just sitting, pretty much the audience is just sitting here listening to the other person yap, and there's nothing else interesting happening. There's nothing else going on. It's just people talking back and forth and back and forth. And that can be interesting in most things, but in exposition, when you're just trying to get something told, it's incredibly boring. But even though I went about for a while not doing my scenes in food settings like this, I think at the same time it's something that you could avoid. You don't want to sit down?
Oh, I guess.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to see you at eye level, it's hard to talk to you, when you're not talking to me. So the way to circumvent that, the way I found at least to help circumvent that, is to almost distract the audience. right? So you don't want like someone to be focused entirely on what's just happening here. It's good to show what's happening around you. Like let's say like I'm talking, and then at the same time in the background somebody is doing something wacky or something weird, right? That way the audience is focused on something else that's happening while I'm talking, and they're still getting the information because they're still hearing me, right? And this can work in a multitude of scenarios. This can work through comedy, for example. This can work through dramas, through all forms of media. And I think it's it's definitely a for sure good tactic. Sometimes you can even use it to juxtapose what you're talking about. Like let's say I'm talking about something like really specific about food and how like let me just say like I hate food, right? And you can juxtapose that by somebody, let's say, eating food, or let's say like talking about how much they like food, or let's say that I find uploading files to be a drag. But
Thanks.
that's the thing, right? Is you want to get the point across, but you don't want to bore the audience. This is still early in the storyline. You just hook them, and if you take too long on your exposition, you're gonna lose them immediately, right? So it's so in general, it's good to keep it succinct. It's good to get what you need to get across during the exposition phase. There'll be other points in the story too, to expose or whatever. But this is the good point at which you want to set up pretty much the main stuff. You want to set up the world. You want to set up why it matters. You want to set up the main character, why they matter.
Take it away.
What they want to do. And then you just want, and after you got all that set up, we can move on to the most important part of the storyline, the inciting incident, or the conflict, which we will get to in the future. But for now, I think I've yapped about you for enough. You got all that down, right?
You're saying something?
You got all that down?
What?
Never mind, I'm sure you got it. Anyways, yeah, so just keep that in mind. What I'm going to tell you is really important for coming up soon. Like, it'll be important, I promise. So make sure you just keep that in mind, and I think we'll be good.
Okay.
Cool, good meeting.
Now kiss?
We got to save that for Act 2.